welcome to a play-by-play review. I'm your host, Henry, and the wildcard round is over, and it's still, honestly, anyone's game. This round of playoffs, the first round of 2026, yeah, that's the year we're in. It was really good. It was some really fun games. It started out awesome. The first half of the 6 games were incredible. Second half were okay. The Eagles-Niners game in the fourth game of the slate was good. Just the final two, the Chargers-Patriots and Texans-Steelers games were not as good. But we'll get to them in a little bit. The Saturday games especially were crazy. There's also just a couple of points to go over before we get into the scores. So Mike McDaniel, who I had said last Tuesday when I was doing my episode that Dolphins were seemingly riding with him. There hadn't been any news yet. And 2 days after, he of course gets fired. I covered that in one of my Metroid Prime episodes over on my YouTube channel. It's Henry the Host, all one word. You should go subscribe over on YouTube. You can also find my podcast over there, as well as plenty of other stuff. I have multiple Star Wars related things that are in the works right now. I am in the middle of editing a short that is hopefully going to be going up either tonight when I am recording this or tomorrow at some point. But anyway, that's that. So I covered that, the McDaniel firing there. I didn't have it here on podcast, so I figured I should do it now. So Mike McDaniel, no longer the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Most likely he's going to find a head coaching spot somewhere else in the league probably by the offseason. My guess is by the end of January, he's going to find somewhere. If not, he's probably going to be an offensive coordinator somewhere, but I would have to assume he's going to be a head coach since he's certainly getting head coach offers. Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, former Dolphins head coach, actually, who Mike McDaniel had replaced, is no longer under contract with Minnesota. His contract simply ran up. It's not like he got fired or anything. So he's a free agent defensive coordinator, also potential head coaching candidate if people want him. I think he was getting interviewed as a head coach by the Ravens, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but we'll see. He's a very interesting candidate because he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the league at the moment. So that's it. On the coaching front, not regarding coaching changes that have happened in the related to the teams that are still in the playoffs during the wildcard round. I'll get to those as we get through the games. So we'll start with the first game, the Rams at the Panthers, the 5-seeded Rams at the 4-seeded Panthers in Charlotte, North Carolina, for the 8-9 Panthers, I might add, hosting a playoff game. And not a lot of people had the Panthers winning this game. I don't think I did in my predictions. I'm pretty sure I had the Rams winning this game. And it started off early on. Looked like the Rams were going to win it quite easily. It was a very windy game, and the Panthers got the ball first and then turned the ball over on downs. They went for it on 4th down, but kind of around midfield, and failed to convert. The Rams went down and scored quite easily, and then the next drive, I believe, was an interception. So the Rams went up pretty big early, and it looked like they kind of had it. Let me go double check. There you go. Went turnover on downs, touchdown. So it was a punt, and then a punt, and then an interception by Carolina. That's what it was. So had missed a couple punts in there. But yeah, after the interception, the Rams scored a touchdown. And it was a Puka Nacua game. He was going crazy. He finished the game with 10 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown. Matthew Stafford had a really good game, all things considered. He had 304 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. And it was definitely looking like a Rams blowout early on. But then the Panthers started to come back. They on both sides of the ball, they started playing well. Jalen Coker had an insane game, 9 catches, 134 yards, and a touchdown. He was turning into prime Jerry Rice, essentially. It was kind of crazy. And yeah, it was 17-14 at halftime, and it definitely seemed like the Panthers had a good shot at winning this game. Unfortunately for them, they would just fall just a little bit short, 34-31. They actually held the lead going into the 2-minute warning, but the Rams had a really good game-winning drive, basically game-sealing drive. The Panthers had 40-ish seconds left to go after that, but couldn't get it done in the end. But it was a really good game overall. It was very back and forth. Like after the opening little series where the Panthers were a bit too sloppy to start out, they just like it was just both teams were trading scores back and forth, and it's what you want to see out of a playoff game like this. The Panthers couldn't really get their rushing attack going all that much. Rico Dowdle wasn't really used all that much, and he didn't do much with his limited touches. He only ran the ball 5 times for 9 total yards. They rolled with Chuba Hubbard a little bit. He had 13 carries for 46 yards and 2 touchdowns. But still, it's for a Panthers team that had a lot of success running the ball, especially with Rico Dowdle, to not have that. I get that they're kind of playing a little bit from behind and really needed to rely on Bryce Young, who didn't have a bad game. I'm going to say that. Like, it wasn't a great game by any means. He had 264 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. But it was definitely, it could have been a lot worse, and we've seen, I think, worse from Bryce Young this year. So I think there's a bit, there's still upside there for Bryce Young, but there still needs a bit more. So I'm not ready to say that the Panthers are like taking those next steps and like you could see them like improving a good amount to like 11 wins or so. But just keep an eye on the Panthers. Essentially, they're an interesting team to look at. There was a blocked punt in this game late in the fourth quarter that really turned things around for the Panthers. It was, of all people, Isaiah Simmons, former 8th overall pick in 2020 by the Cardinals, who was like this supposed to be like do-it-all linebacker who just never worked out. And I think he was on the Giants for a little bit, and then I think the Packers for like maybe an off season, and now he's on the Panthers. But yeah, Isaiah Simmons had a clutch punt block that set up a Panthers touchdown. It was a really entertaining game, and the Carolina crowd was awesome. Like it's for all the complaints that people were having that the Panthers didn't deserve a playoff spot and blah blah blah, like especially a home playoff spot, and like they shouldn't have been playing. It should have been in LA for the Rams. I'm glad they played in Carolina because it was really cool to see this team that hadn't been in the playoffs since 2016, I think. Back in the Cam Newton, Ron Rivera, Luke Kuechly days. So that stadium was rocking. Unfortunately, for the Panthers, they did not end up with a win, but they played well. They gave the Rams a huge scare, and Rams defense especially did not play all that well. Giving up 31 points. I got one of them was basically like they had short field position off of the block punt, but still, like, this is a Rams defense that I think a lot of people were expecting to be better than they were, and they just did not play a great game this time around. It was more so the offense. They put up 34 points, and you put up 34 points, especially in a playoff game. You probably shouldn't expect to win by only 3, but in the end, the Rams got the win, and I think they're fine with that. They just need to probably shore up a little bit more on the defensive side of the ball going forward. So next up, the highly anticipated matchup in the Saturday night game. The Green Bay Packers, the 7th seed, going into Chicago to take on the 2-seeded Bears. And this was, again, highly anticipated. Cold weather. There was I think snow early, but before the game, but then it melted away before the game started. And this was legitimately the exact same script the Bears have been playing all season. They scored 6 points in the first 3 quarters and proceeded to win 31-27. It was so typical Bears in 2025 and now 2026. They started slow. Their offense could just not get much going. The Packers looked significantly better on offense. Jordan Love was cooking. Jordan Love had a solid game. I don't care what anyone says. There's some haters online that are saying Jordan Love had a bad game. I don't think Jordan Love had a bad game. He had 323 yards and 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. Like, this was not on him. The Green Bay rushing attack just was not having a good time. Josh Jacobs only had averaged 2.9 yards per carry on 19 attempts. Didn't have any rushing touchdowns either. It was the Green Bay passing attack the whole time. Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden finally, broke out a little bit. He got his first touchdown of his career in the postseason, which is kind of crazy. He didn't have any touchdowns all regular season, but he had a good one, really good one actually, in the postseason. And it was like the passing attack for Green Bay was getting it done, and then they were up 21-3 at halftime, and it even going through the third quarter, the Packers, their offense got shut down completely in the third quarter. Credit the Bears defense. They were struggling in the first half, but they got just completely shut down going into the second half. The Bears defense adjusted incredibly well. And it was just the Bears offense got nothing done for 3 quarters, and then they put up 25 points in the fourth quarter. So one of the biggest collapses in postseason history. I think it's the biggest collapse in Packers franchise history, in the postseason at least. And it was bad. It was really bad for the Packers. One of the biggest culprits was Brandon McManus. He missed 2 field goals and an extra point, so he left 7 points on the board. And the Packers would have won if he made all those. It was not good. Matt LaFleur also just seemed like he couldn't coach his way out of a loss going into the fourth quarter. Like, same exact thing that happened in their overtime loss a few weeks back. It's like same exact thing. They got out early and then just completely shut down as the Bears offense they woke up and went on a tear. Like, Caleb Williams took him a little bit to get going, but credit where it's due. He threw 2 interceptions early on in this game, or like one, I think in the second quarter, one in the third quarter. So I guess not quite early on, but it was like the first one was basically just an arm punt that it was on a fourth down. He threw the ball like 30 yards downfield. Luther Burden ran the wrong route, and the Packers cornerback intercepted it when he probably shouldn't have, because it cost him like 30 yards. The second interception was on a fourth, or I forget if it was third or fourth down. I think it was a third down actually, in the red zone, where he just kind of chucked it up. That one was not good. I'll say that. That was not good. He had a lot of pressure in his face. It was not a good one. But after that, basically once it hit the fourth quarter, Caleb Williams flipped a switch and played incredibly well. He made some insanely good throws, especially on the move. There's this one throw on like a fourth and 15, I want to say, or it might have been like 4th and 12 something. It was a long one. And he was like rolling out to his left, threw like this 30-yard bomb downfield that was absolutely perfect, like draped between 2 defenders. It was one of the best throws you'll see in a while. And like, even though he's throwing for a literal 50% completion rate and 2 interceptions and doing nothing for the first 3 quarters, I mean, they won the game, and that's how the Bears have been living all season. So I don't think you can really complain all that much. It's, once again, I said it before, that like this style of play, I just don't think is super sustainable. But I mean, they only need to win like 2 or 3 more games at this point. Is what? Division, championship, Super Bowl. They only need to win 3 more games playing this way. So, the path is there. It's just, you can't keep putting yourself in holes like this and expect to win. You're lucky playing an injury-riddled Packers team that was limping into this postseason. And I mean, I'm worried for the Bears that this style of play will not get them very far against better teams in the playoffs. But once again, they're in the divisional round. They just beat their division rival, embarrassed them basically at home. And not much to complain about there. So again, horrible for the Packers. I'm surprised they still, I know it's the offseason now for them technically, so it's like they don't have to cut Brandon McManus now, but like if they keep Brandon McManus around for next season, I'll be shocked. They're like, I'm a little surprised they're keeping Matt LaFleur around, to be honest. Like, he's a good coach, but I don't know. Like, if the 7th seed wasn't around, like, LaFleur would have made the playoffs once in his career, I'm pretty sure. And that was like 4 years ago or something like that. Or it might have been even longer. Like, it's crazy. It was not good. Unfortunately for the Bears, TJ Edwards, one of their like really good linebackers, who's kind of the leader of their defense, broke his ankle or something like that. Nasty injury that I'm assuming out for the rest of the postseason. Definitely went out for the rest of that game, and I'm pretty sure he's out for the rest of the postseason. So really unfortunate there. And yeah, that's, I think, unless there's anything in my notes, doesn't look like it. That is going to do it for the Packers-Bears game. So moving on to Sunday, the 1 o'clock game was the Buffalo Bills, the 6th seed in the AFC, going into Jacksonville to take on the 3-seeded Jaguars. And I had the Jaguars going to the Super Bowl. I had them losing the Super Bowl, but I had them going to the Super Bowl because I thought the momentum they had and how they've been playing over the past couple of weeks was indicative of how they're going to keep playing against a Bills team that had looked rather weak compared to teams of Bills past. And this was another close game. It was actually the 3rd game in a row where the team leading at the 2-minute warning of the game would lose. That team was, in fact, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were leading going into late in the 4th quarter. They were up 20-24, though the Buffalo would score after the 2-minute warning, and they would go on to hold the lead 27-24 for the win. I'm skipping ahead to the end of the game here, but I'll circle around to the back. But in the end, there was a chance for Jacksonville to retake the lead at the end, where they had, I think, a minute left basically and one timeout, and almost immediately Trevor Lawrence threw an interception. It wasn't like a terrible throw. It was just like a throw into tight coverage, and Tre'Davious White, who was back with the Bills, and who obviously has had a bit of a career fall off since the numerous injuries he's had, made an insane play, in incredibly tight coverage, tipped the ball up for his teammate to intercept it. I think it was Cole Bishop was who it was, if I remember correctly, and sealed the game for the Bills. So this is a game where it was the best rushing offense for which are the Bills and James Cook, more so than anyone else, going up against Jacksonville, who are the best rushing defense. And the Jags actually did kind of hold James Cook and the rushing attack for the Bills in check. It was just the passing attack that they were struggling a bit more with. Josh Allen had 3 touchdowns total. Did throw 2 interceptions. Oh, wait, no, I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence stats. Never mind. I was going to say, I don't remember Josh Allen throwing for 2 interceptions this game. No, Trevor Lawrence threw 2 interceptions that game. Josh Allen threw 1 touchdown, 273 yards in the air. So it was a solid all-around performance. Khalil Shakir had a really nice game. And unfortunately, Gabe Davis tore his ACL in this game for the Bills. And I think also Tyrell Shavers went down with an injury in this game, and he's out for the rest of the postseason. So, again, really unfortunate stuff for the Bills. Their receiver room is getting thinner and thinner. We had a Brandon Cooks and Keon Coleman sighting in this game. They both had some pretty crazy catches. So it's the side of the offense that hasn't really been doing too much this year for the Bills woke up and kind of took Jacksonville by surprise. They were having an overall, they didn't play bad. Jacksonville didn't play bad at all. They just couldn't quite keep up with Buffalo. It looked more like Jacksonville, the team of earlier in the season, where they were a bit streakier. They didn't use the run game as well. The team as a whole ran for 154 yards, but it just didn't feel like they were doing enough in the run game compared to what they usually do. Because we've seen Jacksonville just embarrass teams with a run game. They only gave the ball to Travis Etienne 10 times. He ran for 67 yards, which is not bad, but you probably want to give him a little bit more to, put a lot more pressure on the defense. And, it's been a strength for the Jags this whole season is their run attack. And also credit the Bills defense for defending it well, but I'm just surprised that the Jags kind of went away from the run offense a little bit more than I think we were expecting. For credit Jacksonville, though, Parker Washington had a really good game. He's emerged into an insanely good weapon for Jacksonville, so he's a guy to keep an eye on next season. Washington had 7 catches for 107 yards and a touchdown. So, yeah, it was he's probably their biggest bright spot in Jacksonville this season, especially over the last couple weeks. And I'll be interesting to see how he fits into the offense next season. Unfortunately for them, Josh Allen once again kind of went Superman. The Bills actually, ironically, as they were one of the teams who voted to ban the tush push, had a 10-yard tush push on a 4th and 1 in the red zone late in the game that almost scored a touchdown. They actually would score on the next play over the game-winning touchdown, but it was huge conversion there through the tush push for the Bills, and ultimately they come out with a victory here. And they. I like every other team, but especially for the Bills, they have a big opportunity here to make a run to the Super Bowl. And it's obviously no Mahomes, no Burrow, no Lamar. And those have been the 3 guys that have really stymied the Bills for the past 5 years at this point. 6 years, honestly. And, there's still Drake May. There's still, spoilers ahead, Patriots would win. But yeah, there's still Bo Nix, and CJ Stroud, spoilers for the Texans game, but I don't think anyone was really, I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, there's still opposition for the Bills, but there's a good shot here that they can make a run. I'll be interested to see there. So after that, we get to the 4:30 game on Sunday. The 49ers going into Philadelphia. The 6-seeded 49ers, I think it was, going into Philadelphia to take on the 3-seeded Eagles. The Eagles who, had they not rested their starters, there's a good chance they would have gotten the 2-seed and played against Green Bay. And they didn't. They played San Francisco, and they lost. And I was very, very happy because this was a game where the Eagles team we've seen all season, the very good defense combined with a really bad offense, played the exact game we expected. Their defense played well. Well, it looked like they were going to struggle in the first drive, where Jawan Jennings of all people cooked Quinyon Mitchell like two or three separate times for like 80 yards and a touchdown. It was great. Like, it was basically the first drive they just marched down the field with Jawan Jennings and scored a touchdown. And like completely picking on Quinyon Mitchell. And then after that, Quinyon had he had a really good game after that, but that first drive was crazy. But then after that, the San Francisco offense basically got shut down for most of the game. And the Eagles offense in return did basically nothing. They got a couple field goals and they did score a touchdown with, actually they scored a touchdown and then Jake Elliott missed the extra point. So they scored 2 touchdowns in the first half. I will correct myself there. They had I think a Dallas Goedert touchdown, and then who actually was the other touchdown who scored? It was a Jalen Hurts who did score the other touchdown? No, it was a Saquon touchdown. He threw it to actually they scored 2. Who scored the other? Oh, Dallas Goedert had a rushing touchdown. Oh, it must have been like a touchdown. I actually don't even remember that touchdown. Yeah, so Dallas Goedert had both touchdowns. I don't know why I don't remember the second one being Dallas Goedert for some reason. I thought it was like Saquon, but I guess not. Anyway, doesn't matter. It was overall a very bad performance by the Eagles on the offensive side of the ball. Jalen Hurts had 168 total passing yards and 1 touchdown on 35 attempts, I might add. It was really not good. He was not the main problem of the offense. Obviously, Kevin Patullo did not call a very good game. He called once again, a very terrible game. The rushing attack was honestly better than it had been for most of the season. Saquon had 26 carries for 106 yards. So it was better than a lot of his other games, but still not amazing. Like, obviously breaking 100, but like he's averaging 4.1 yards per carry. And especially in the playoffs, you look at the Rams game last year, or the Commanders game in the playoffs, like Saquon was the reason they won those games, and also their defense. But like on the offensive side of the ball, it was Saquon. But what really killed the Eagles though in this game on offense was the receiving core. Devontae Smith had an okay game. He had 8 catches for 70 yards. So like there was good. He did have some like at least one bad drop, but AJ Brown was the main culprit here. For all the crap he talked, all the complaining he did over the season about not getting more targets and all that, his magnum opus here in this wild card round, he had 7 targets, caught 3 of them for 25 yards, including 3 drops. 2 of them were like kind of on the fingertips, like not the easiest catches in the world, but for a guy who has gotten paid heavily and is complaining about not getting targets to drop them. There was also a really bad drop right in his hands late in the game that really messed up the Eagles. Like, it was right through his hands, and it would have been a big gain. It was really bad, basically. And Eagles fans are starting to turn on AJ Brown for good reason, but also everything was bad. It was really bad. Again, for San Francisco, their offense definitely struggled a good bit. Brock Purdy threw 2 pretty bad interceptions in this game, and outside of that, he was fine, but it was not his best performance. The running attack was getting completely stuffed all game. McCaffrey was kind of a non-factor, not necessarily a non-factor, but he was much less of a factor in this game than he usually is. Like, he was not the focal point of the offense by the end of this game. It was instead Demarcus Robinson, who finished with 6 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown. Kyle Juszczyk also had 4 catches in this game, really nice catches as well. Like, there's just somewhere he was just wide open. 49ers also had scored a touchdown on a really entertaining trick play in the fourth quarter where they basically ran the Philly special. I'll be honest. They ran the Philly special from like 30 yards out, and Jawan Jennings threw an awesome touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey, who was basically wide up in the end zone. It was really cool. And we saw Jawan Jennings' arm talent, and there's like pictures circulating on social media now of like Jawan Jennings was a 4-star recruit for quarterback out of high school above Sam Darnold, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson, among others. So that's kind of crazy how all of their careers turned out. But yeah, Juwan Jennings had a crazy touchdown pass there on a trick play, and Niners scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and that's what did it. They came back and won. The Eagles offense just couldn't do anything in the end. Like, they were able to start marching down the field with little time left, and on the final play of the game for them, it was a little strange where they were basically in a 2-minute offense. They had all 3 timeouts, and it was about a minute-ish left, a little under that, maybe like 45 seconds, and they're on about the 25-yard line, and they're of course, Nick Sirianni decided to call a timeout to scheme up the correct play that he wanted, because it was like they were set. The Eagles were looking like they were getting ready to go. There might have been a little bit of miscommunication, but like they probably still could have ran a play. Instead, Sirianni called a timeout, which not a great thing to do there, because you don't have the 2-minute warning. So if you turn the ball over on downs there, the game is literally over. And there's a shot on the sidelines with Sirianni, Patullo, Jalen Hurts, and Tanner McKee, the backup quarterback. And Patullo is drawing up the play, and you see you only see really the back of Jalen Hurts' face, or back of his head, but you can see Sirianni standing, and like you see Kevin Patullo like finish drawing up the play, and Sirianni just kind of tilts his head in confusion. Tanner McKee like does this like double take essentially and looks at Sirianni, and Jalen Hurts also like turns his head to look at Sirianni, and he just says nothing. And what Patullo drew up on like a 4th and 10 was basically just 4 verticals going straight down the field, getting no separation. And then Jalen Hurts threw it into triple coverage, targeting Dallas Goedert, which went for an interception because it got tipped away. It was peak Eagles in 2025 on how their offense is going. Just awful play calling, Sirianni doing nothing to try and fix it, and Jalen Hurts throwing a pretty bad pass. It was bad. It was really bad. And after that, Sirianni burned both his timeouts during kneel downs. Not that it mattered. It was embarrassing. It was frankly embarrassing. So outside of the defense playing good, this was basically a complete and utter failure on an offensive side, from an offensive perspective for the Eagles. And, there's some people who were thinking that the Eagles were going to actually turn a page in the playoffs and, come out looking good and, not what they had been all season, and they came out looking how they had been all season. And all the haters, including me, were proven exactly right on what this Eagles team was. They were incredibly overrated. They had a really good defense and a really terrible offense, led by an inept head coach, an inept offense coordinator, and a highly overrated quarterback. And those three, more so than that, Jalen Hurts didn't have a great game, but he wasn't the main problem. It was, again, A.J. Brown had a really bad game in terms of drops, but this was also, again, Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni, especially Kevin Patullo. They had a terrible game, and the players on offense didn't do much better, and that's what cost them. Because, again, they're playing a San Francisco 49ers defense that is missing so many key players. Like, this was a Niners defense riddled with injury, and they still lost. They couldn't get anything going. And it was like Jalen Hurts, I think, got pressured once this whole game. Or like he got sacked once and barely got pressured at all. And he still was like awful. Like he was a worse quarterback from the pocket than he was scrambling, with basically no pressure while he was in the pocket. It was incredibly bad. And because of this, the Eagles have demoted Kevin Patullo. They've relieved him from offensive coordinator duties, though he is still within the organization at this point. They have not fired him. So we'll see what happens to Patullo, because he's a Nick Sirianni hire. He's been, I think, with them for a while, with the Eagles for a while. Like he was like their passing coordinator, or like passing specialist. Let me actually look up what he is officially titled as. But either way, it's not super surprising that why am I typing Nick Patullo? It's Kevin Patullo. But yeah, it's not surprising that Patullo is staying around, since he is kind of buddy with the Eagles. So yeah, he went with he was with Sirianni in Indy back when Sirianni was in Indy, I think, because I'm pretty sure Sirianni was in Indianapolis before going to Philly, if I remember correctly. I think he was under the Frank Reich staff. But yeah, he went with Sirianni in 2021 to the Eagles. As a passing game coordinator, he was there 21-22, then passing game coordinator and associate head coach in 23 and 24, and then he was the offensive coordinator this past year. So not surprising that that Petillo is remaining with the organization, but it's also not surprising that they have removed him from offensive coordinator duties because he was awful. On the 49ers side of the ball, they did not come out of this unscathed because they cannot go a full season without having one of their star players getting injured, and this just seems to be another season where they have everyone get injured. George Kittle unfortunately tore his Achilles in this game. Just awful news for a really cool football guy. Had been dealing with injuries for a lot of the season and really sucks for him and the 49ers. The only silver lining, or the only good news they have besides beating the Eagles, is that they will be getting Fred Warner back sometime soon. There's a decent chance I think he comes back next week because he's back at practice. Like, he's been taken off the injured reserve list. He's back at practice. We'll see if he's ready to go for their divisional game, or if it's going to be if the Niners win, there's a good chance he would be there for the championship game. But again, it's if the Niners get there. Now then, to the Sunday night game, the Los Angeles Chargers, the 7th seed, going into New England to take on these 2-seeded Patriots. And this game kind of went as expected, to be honest. Honestly, it went even worse than I think people were expecting. So credit the Chargers defense. I am going to first say that. The Chargers defense played a really good game. They held the Patriots to 16 points. You know, this is a team that's 14-3 with a potential MVP winner in Drake May having an excellent season. They did a really good job at defending the entire New England offense. There was only one touchdown scored in this game. It was a late touchdown pass to Hunter Henry. A really nice touchdown pass, I might add. But it was the Patriots offense was having a rough go everywhere. Unfortunately for the Chargers, they had legitimately their worst offensive performance in a good long while. They scored a solid 3 points. No one on their offense had a good game. Like, from coaches to players, it was all bad. It was all bad. Justin Herbert led the team in rushing yards with 57. Omarion Hampton came out for one play, rushed for -1 yards, and then went back. Basically, he was questionable to play in this game with an injury, rushed one time, and then went off the field, presumably re-aggravating the injury. Kamani Vidal had 11 carries for 31 yards. There was like one good run he had, and that was about it. Justin Herbert finished with 159 total yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 6 times for 39 yards, and honestly, it felt like it was more. He was getting killed this whole game. Like, he was just on his back, just injured, and it was bad. He was like Josh Allen. I forgot to mention that Josh Allen during the Jags game was getting hammered and dealt with like 3 different injuries that game. It was rough for him. And Justin Herbert, not much different, although he had a terrible game. I'll certainly defend Justin Herbert because he's been in bad situation after bad situation. And once again, he was in a bad situation in this game. Like, his offensive line was having a terrible time. Like, there were some plays where he would snap the ball, the center would snap the ball, Justin Herbert would drop back and just immediately have someone in his face. Like, there no time whatsoever. But at the same time, he did not have a good game. Like, he was just missing reads and overthrowing passes. None of his receivers were catching passes either. Like, Keenan Allen had this one potential touchdown pass not touchdown pass, but like potential first down catch where he just didn't go for it for some reason. Like, he might have been thinking that there was someone behind him, but it was all bad. Like, generationally bad for an offense that was streaky. Like, to play this poorly in this big of a situation is backbreakingly brutal because, you know, the Chargers have had good success in the regular season over like this year and last year under Jim Harbaugh. And, you know, the narrative around Herbert is that he's a good regular season quarterback, but he can't get it done in the postseason. He still does not have a postseason win. He is in year 6 now at this point, going into year 7 now since his season's done, and he still does not won a playoff game with the amount of talent he has. It's not good. And, you know, I'll certainly defend Justin Herbert on a lot of things, and this wasn't all his fault, but he did not have a good game. Like, it was just not good. Once again, credit the Chargers defense. They played well, but that was about it. Unfortunately for the Patriots, Christian Gonzalez suffered a concussion this game. Don't know if he'll be out for next week's game or not, but he is out. Other than that, though, this was, you know, pretty good for the Patriots. Not going to lie. Their first playoff win since actually the Super Bowl against the Rams back in 2018. I guess technically it would have been calendar year 2019, but the 2018 season. So their first playoff win since then. Ramondre Stevenson had a really nice game, and yeah, that's about it for the Patriots. They are on there. Milton Williams was back in this game. He was finally back for injury, and he made his presence felt. He was wrecking shop for this game for the Patriots D-line, and there's a good chance we could see the Patriots in the Super Bowl because they are just a pretty well coached and well-rounded team. I'll say that. But their offense does need to do a little bit of work after this because they did not play the best. Also on the Chargers front, since this game they have fired their offensive coordinator, Greg Roman. So hopefully they will actually find a competent offensive coordinator, and hopefully their offensive line cannot be utter garbage. Obviously getting Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater back from injury will help. And they really need to invest in the interior offensive line because it was not good. My guess is Bradley Bozeman, their current center, is going to be gone. There's probably a decent chance they land Tyler Linderbaum in free agency unless the Ravens franchise tag him or something like that. But there's obviously the Harbaugh connection, and the Chargers desperately need a center. So targeting one of the top guys on the market and Linderbaum, just mark it down. This is not like a super bold prediction or anything like that. But there's a decent chance we see Tyler Linderbaum in a Chargers jersey come 2026, the regular season for 2026, because we're still in 2026. But yeah, for the final game, the Monday night game, the Houston Texans, the 5 seed, going into Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers, the 4 seed, and this was a very slow game to start. It was a defensive battle, which we kind of all expected because this Texans defense is absurd. And unfortunately for the Texans offense, they took a while to get going. CJ Stroud had never fumbled the whole season and then suddenly fumbled 4 times in this game. It was kind of crazy. He also threw, I think, 2 interceptions in this game. CJ Stroud did not have a good game in the end. He did make some pretty nice throws, especially later in the game. And Christian Kirk was having a day. He finished with 8 catches for 144 yards and a touchdown. But overall, this is not a very good game from Stroud. I don't know what was going on with him and his fumbling issues and whatever was going on with him in the center. It was not good. Luckily for them, though, on the offensive side of the ball, Woody Marks had his first 100-yard game as a player in the NFL. He had 19 carries for 112 yards and a touchdown. Nick Chubb was also having a good stretch there for a little bit. He was looking a little bit like the old Nick Chubb, slashing through the Pittsburgh defense. But yeah, the story of this game is not the Texans offense. It is the Texans defense. They were just absurd as they have been all season. The Steelers could get nothing done. They kicked 2 field goals early in this game, and that was it. They lost 30-6. The Texans defense scored 2 defensive touchdowns, 1 a fumble recovery for a touchdown on a strip sack, and then a pick 6 not long after. It was just a total beatdown. The Steelers were playing the Texans close. It was 7-6 Texans at halftime, and even then it was neither team scored in the third quarter. So it was there was a chance that Steelers could have done something, and then they just completely fell apart. Just completely and totally fell apart. The Texans defense did what they do best and just made the lives of the other team completely miserable, and it was really bad for the Steelers offense. So Aaron Rodgers ended his season as a Pittsburgh Steeler and potentially his career with a pick 6. It was not good. The Steelers' offensive game plan was not very good. Not that I think they could have done much because, again, this Texans defense is just ridiculous. But the rushing attack didn't get going. Jaylen Warren had 43 yards on 12 carries. Kenneth Gainwell had 6 carries for 20 yards. And those were literally the only 2 rushing stats for the Steelers this whole game. DK did not have a very good game. He had a couple drops here and there. Aaron Rodgers did not have a very good game. No one on the Steelers offense had a good game. Literally no one. It was bad all around. The only reason they were in that game for as long as they were was because the Steelers defense was playing all right, and the Texans, and more specifically CJ Stroud, were just having a rough go of things for a little while. But in the end, the Texans just completely dominated the Steelers. Their defense is absurd. I might have said this before on an episode previously about the Texans, but they're as the season's gone on and how we've seen them play, there's a lot of memes and stuff on like how the Texans play defense compared to like some of the other top defenses, where it's like, you know, Brian Flores and Mike McDonald, who run some of the other top defense in the league, like they are in the lab scheming up these like completely insane like blitz schemes and like pass rush packages to like rush 5 or 6 and like you know, throw decoys in there and just completely and utterly confuse the opposing team to like get a sack or get pressure and stuff like that, to just like total madmen, like having 50 billion combinations on their defense for, you know, every single type of play. Like they're over prepared and just like making everything confusing to the best degree possible. Like again, this is not a bad thing. This is like just how they scheme it. Like they're mad scientists essentially. And then the Texans defense is they're just like they run the basic scheme of like line 4 up and like occasionally pressure, but it's basically just rush 4, drop everyone else in coverage, and they just win. They just win. It's ridiculous. Like their linebackers are insane. Their pass rush is ridiculous. Their cornerbacks are crazy. Their safeties are insane as well. Like there's no weakness on that defensive front. It's insane. Like Derek Stingley Jr., I feel like doesn't even get talked about all that much in this defense, and he's probably the best cornerback in football. It's absurd. It's because they have like this insane pass rush as well. It's ridiculous. And you know, they just walk out there. You know exactly what they're going to do on defense. They're just going to rush their top 4 guys, drop everyone else in coverage, and they're still going to beat you. You can't do anything. Like no one's going to get open. No one's going to protect the quarterback, and you're just going to lose. Like that's what this Texans defense does to people. It's their offense that has really been costing them for most of the season. Like really outside of that Indy game in week 18, which they still won, they are really, really good. And, you know, if this Texans offense, if CJ Stroud can not play like he has been for the past 2 years and actually remember how to play like he did when he was a rookie, this Texans team can make the Super Bowl. But for some reason, CJ Stroud just is no longer who he was as a rookie. And I don't know what happened there. I don't know. But yeah, so it's for this Texans team moving forward, they need their offense to not be terrible and they will win. Because if their offense is bad, then there's a good chance they lose. But because this defense is not the issue. If this Texans team loses in the divisional round or like in any of the next couple weeks because of their defense, I will be utterly shocked. I will be completely and utterly shocked. Like if the Texans go against whichever team they play and get into a complete shootout, like a 45-41 victory or whatever, or loss, I guess, like I will be flabbergasted. Because this Texans defense is insane. Now then, enough praising this defense. I just think I always love defenses that are just so good. And like you don't even need to do much. It's just line up and play. I love defenses like that. So that's why I just wanted to highlight that there. But on the Steelers news, there's some big news coming out of the Steelers. Is that Mike Tomlin is stepping down from his role as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So after I think it's 19 years as head coach and a Super Bowl victory, he is no longer going to be coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are looking for their 4th ever head coach in franchise history, which is still the craziest stat to me, that they've been around since the 60s and have only had 3 head coaches up until this point. Just absolutely crazy. So the old guard in the AFC North are gone, both Harbaugh and Tomlin. The 2 oldest or longest tenured head coaches in the league. It is now Andy Reid, who was hired in 2013 by the Chiefs. He is now the longest tenured head coach, but outside of him, it's the 2017 class, which includes Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. I think it's him. It's McVay, Shanahan, and Sean McDermott are the 3 from that class still there. So them being the old guard in the NFL is really weird because Sean McVay is, I think, only in his like 30s still. I think he's like 36 or 37. How old is Sean McVay? Because he's really young. I think he was the youngest head coach when he got hired. He is okay. So he's actually 39, so he's not quite as young, but still, like he was hired in 2017, so he would have been 28 roughly, like in his 20s when he got hired as a head coach, which is, I mean, it's like there's a literal phenomenon called the Sean McVay effect of like hiring younger head coaches because he got hired and he's really good because Sean McVay is this absolute demon of football knowledge. Like if you watch any video of Sean McVay, like he has like this eidetic memory when it comes to football. Like you name any game he's coached and like any specific play, and he will tell you exactly what happened on that play. It's absurd. And like he is a football madman that few can match. And it'll be interesting to see what the Ravens, what the Steelers do, and what the Browns do as well. Like this is going to be a new look AFC North come next season, and like two teams that we've kind of come to expect of how they operate for the past almost 2 decades at this point are now going into uncharted territory, which is kind of crazy. I know I was talking with some Ravens fans today at work. I know at least one of them really wants Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator for, I think, who is it? I was about to say the Packers, but I don't think that's right. I think that's Jeff Hafley. Who does Jesse Minter coach for? I don't remember. Okay, he's the Chargers defensive coordinator. That's who it is. And which makes sense because he's went with Jim Harbaugh. So yeah. But yeah, I know there's a chance that Jesse Minter gets hired. There's also, I think, a decent chance that Brian Flores goes and becomes head coach of the Steelers. I really wanted him to come to Washington. They actually got, as I'm recording this today, he interviewed with Washington, and I really want them to Washington hire them. I actually don't know if I covered this, but the Commanders hired David Blau as their offensive coordinator, replacing Cliff Kingsbury. Blau was a member of Kingsbury's system. He played in the NFL, was a rookie in 2019, undrafted rookie at quarterback, played in Detroit for a few years, also played in Arizona. His last official appearance in the NFL was in 2022 in Arizona, where he, in Week 18, in his final appearance, threw a touchdown pass to A.J. Green. So if you want to ever know who A.J. Green, his final touchdown pass was from, it was David Blau. So there's a good trivia question for you. On the Cardinals, I should also add, both of them were on the Cardinals at that point. But yeah, so Blau's going to be interesting because he's probably going to bring a mix of Kingsbury's system and also Ben Johnson's system because Blau worked with Ben Johnson, I think, in Detroit back when he was a backup quarterback and Johnson was coming up through the system there, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But yeah, anyway, and back to Brian Flores. He's interviewing for defensive coordinator positions, but I think there's a chance he might go to Pittsburgh as a head coach because he did coach. He was their defensive coordinator there for a few years. So again, a spot for him to look out for, and it'll be interesting there. So that is it for the wild card round. Let me read off the current bracket or the remaining matchups. So let's see so Saturday is the 17th. So the first game of the divisional round will be the 1-seeded Broncos playing host to the 6-seeded Bills at 4:30 on Saturday. That should be an very interesting game. The Bills obviously coming off that win against Jacksonville and going up against another really strong defense, one of the best overall defenses in the league. But the Broncos have had some issues on offense. Sean Payton especially has not been the best coach when it comes to calling plays. We'll see what happens there for the Broncos and the Bills. After that, it is the other 1-seed game, the 1-seeded Seahawks taking on the 6-seeded 49ers. And that is at 8 o'clock on Saturday. And again, should be a pretty fun game. We had that matchup happen just, I guess, a week and a half ago at this point. In that Week 18 Saturday matchup, which, again, I call it if you want to go check out that episode. I think it was a fun one. It'll be interesting to see how this upcoming game differs from that game because that game, the 49ers were getting completely stuffed the whole game by the Seahawks defense. They were playing incredibly well. And again, I have the Seahawks going all the way and winning the Super Bowl, so keep an eye out there. Then the Sunday games are first at 3 o'clock on Sunday. It is the 2-seeded Patriots playing host to the Texans. And I just got done singing the praises of the Texans defense. So they could certainly make Drake May and the Patriots offense have a really rough go of things. And if their offense plays like they did against the Chargers, they could have a really rough go of things. But that's, again, very interesting couple of sides to watch there. Like how will the Patriots, basically it's like how well will these two offenses play? Like are the Patriots going to be able to overcome the insanity that is the Texans defense? And are the Texas offense finally going to actually put together a competent 60-minute game? Then the final game of the divisional round is the 2-seeded Chicago Bears playing host to the 5-seeded Rams at 6:30. And that should be also pretty interesting one. I can see that one, again, going either way. The Rams had a bit of a scare against the Panthers, but they won. And Bears completed an insane playoff comeback against their division rival Packers. It'll be interesting to see. My guess is the Rams are going to go up big early and probably choke it away at this point, knowing how the season's going. So there's a good chance the Bears basically do the exact same thing they did against the Packers. But yeah, again, this I think is literally anyone's year. I could see any of these teams winning the Super Bowl. Like Broncos, Bills, Patriots, Texans, Seahawks, Niners, Bears, Rams. I could make a legitimate case that any of these teams win the Super Bowl, and that's really cool to see. So I think that this upcoming divisional round is going to be very, very fun to watch. So that'll do it for this episode. I'll try and get something out on Saturday, depending on how the games go and how invested I am in that. We'll see what happens. But I want to get another episode out on Saturday. But next week, next Tuesday, will be recap of the divisional rounds and any further news in the NFL. Because I don't think there's anything else that I missed. Big news-wise, I might have, but I don't think I have. But yeah, that will do it. Look forward to next week. And yeah, once again, go subscribe to my YouTube channel. It is Henry the Host, all one word. And again, you can find my podcast here as well as other various video stuff that I do on YouTube. For now, though, this will do it for this episode, though. So thank you very much for listening.